Good afternoon. My name's Linda Jackson, and I'd like to say welcome to the Wanderlust Women, having a small presentation for you in aid of International Women's Day. And my, don't we need it at the moment? I won't go into any of the details. Everyone's got their own information, the social media, and the news. So I'm sure everyone's got their thoughts on it. The actual theme for International Women's Day this year is Give to Gain. And apparently what they want that to mean is sharing your own successes and the successes of other women, like what I'm collaboratively. So it's perfect for what we've been doing. You know, the three of us are friends and we've been working on these Wanderlust Women books and having a lovely time, getting to know one another a bit more, having so many laughs, and also just getting these books out. And on that, gaining and sharing the gaining, I think this third book, Wanderlust Women, Testaments, is actually really doing that this time. I mean, the other ones were our own experiences largely, but for this one, it was sharing what we had learned about other women who needed some attention brought back to them or indeed introduced to you. So I'm going to begin today and do a couple of poems out of this book, and then I'll do a third one out of the Wanderlust Women Extra Baggage book. So the first one I would like to read is one I've read a few times but never recorded, and it's called Rose in the Mac Crown, and it's a testament for Margaret MacDonald. First struck by those Jacobite names, Macintosh, MacDonald, melting metals into rose and circle. You, Margaret, were the source, the genius, so he said. And he was right. The source, the well of fruits to free those Glasgow-style designs, modernist, magnificent, but drawing world attention to him. The seven princesses, they dance to your call, trailing veils and vines, wrapping around long nights in Vienna, feminine, fragile geometry and nature, your greatest guess, so they said. But O ye that walk in Willowwood, through my lowly tenement bedroom, printed silk scarf draped from a hanger like a pre-Raphaelite shoulder. It's this image, this lifelong night falling, that delivers la morte parfumée of your red and bleeding petals. So clearly this is my favourite. I've been a big lover of her work since I was a teenager, actually. And she was a lover of the work of Rossetti, his art and his poetry. And O Ye That Walk in Willowwood is the title of one of Rossetti's poems that inspired this. And The Lifelong Night is also from that poem. And La Morte Parfumée was actually the last work of art that Margaret MacDonald created in her London studio before, I believe, she committed suicide. People know her sister did, but she was found in her studio, and people didn't say much about it. But she was a genius, and I'm still waiting. I'm trying to get these girls to go with me to Vienna. Come on, girls, we need to go to Vienna. I'm dying to see the Gessos. So my next poem I'm going to do is comes from a time that I did a trip to Canada, and this is introducing a woman I'm sure you won't have heard of. I've always been very interested in Canada, big Joni Mitchell fan as a youngster, big Neil Young fan, Leonard Cohen, all of that. So I was always listening to all of them. And deciding there's a town in North Ontario, and one day I'll see it. So I got a backpack and went away for 4 or 5 weeks. I toured about the place, Montreal and all of that. I managed to get up to Nova Scotia, Halifax, Cape Breton, and Quebec, everything. And when I was there, I forfeited buying my children and my family dream catchers and all these things that are just, a wee bit like Princess Street with tartan businesses, a bit like that, moccasins. I decided not to do that, and I went to an Inuit gallery, and I bought this thing here, which I hope you can see there. You can see the design on it, and that design is a woman with husky dogs. They called the husky dogs Quimit. I'm not quite sure if that's how you see it, but and these were very important to them, the people, the indigenous people of North America, because the animals could smell seals. They could also drive their sledges round the holes in the ice and save their lives. They were very wide scattered, the communities, so they could take them to visit their families. And this poem is dedicated to Annie Ainilick. I never got to meet her, but I did see all her artwork. So pictures of her, because she just had an exhibition not long before I was there, and all her work was in the place. I found it immense. Anyway, this is called The Inuit Carver of Nunavik. In the ice-cold balm of determination, she chips away, sometimes leaning into the giant grey mountains of Appalachian stone. Her shoulder blade, ice-white, walls her focus. Skill and steadiness block out the chaos and challenge the racing particles to be still, deliver the carving, venerate the lifeblood of the Inuit. Like a negative, her body almost visible through layers of repression, feels what is required, what might blaze a thing of beauty and the untold history. But still, the flurries come. Snowdrifts quick past her vision, flights of nervous energy, her gut muscles clench, distract her system of scrapes and marks. It was a memory of the Mounties. Grey shotguns ringing out, the dogs' cries scattering, thousands killed. Maimed hearts of their families, animals bleeding out into the snow. Annie cuts and whispers the life story of her people, skimming the ice places, Quimit pulling sled of wood and metal, labouring to procure fish and food, travelling to remote relatives to share love and the look of kin. The steatite changes and a dog emerges. A sled is outlined and the carving is done. A cultural inscription. The daily life recaptured. And she lies silent against the ever-cold stone. So that steatite, I keep it in this house, which is not that warm, but even when it is, it doesn't change. It's freezing to the touch. It doesn't matter where you put it, near a fire, cooker, it doesn't heat up, which is an interesting thing. And yeah, it's not that far away, but between 1950 and 75, there were thousands of the dogs were slaughtered by the Royal Constabulary of Mounted Police. And obviously people know about the buffalo and all that, and it's just a way of pushing these people into Indigenous community, into reservations and the like. In 2019, the Crown Indigenous Relations Minister, Caroline Bennett, gave a public apology for the killing of their dogs. Yeah. So that's Annie, who's working away there. If you ever get an opportunity to look her up, or if you go to North Canada, look her up. And there's many women who are doing that work, trying to revitalise, reawaken, bring memories to what happened to their own people. So this last big poem I'm going to do for you today is a wee bit, lighter, I think. And it's from this extra baggage book. And this is about a wedding I attended. It was actually my son's wedding, which was in Kinross in a castle area where there was fowl and all sorts of peacocks and all stuff walking about. But the interesting thing for me, as my daughter-in-law said, there's a witches' circle, because actually on that land, the forebears of the man that owned the castle had women put to death as witches. And his way of trying to maybe atone for that was he created this beautiful stone and a maze all round it. So once I had a few pints, I quite enjoyed being down there reading all about the women. So this is called Time in Kinross. The wedding guests laugh, gaudy in the sun, and the fowl wander regal, stretch out below the bowl of rain that threatens this special day. Still, the world was well in Clackmannanshire, but below the stone, women lie curled or in a deep sleep for hundreds of years in this, their only home. Thick hedgerows surround the thorny lair where the pale corpses lie quite weary. At the wedding, a treasure map was issued and the teenagers set off. Wine was imbibed at this nuptial feast. They shared glasses and glances by the wood and the stream. And in time they were coupling against the trees' green mosses. In the maze, stone moved and fired with the dark and nothingness. They kissed and caressed each other's breasts, sighing for the light and the living. The texts buzz, the phones ring, the children are missing for dinner, for the speeches, but down by the dell space, they are dressing and wiping off mess. They speak nothing of their sensual giftings and sexual imaginings. Wet witches emerge, dressed in dirt and soil. They smooth off each other's skin, healing old wounds. They go up and out in different directions, meander the maze and the darkened hedges, near to the teens in the hollow. Nipples scrape rough on the earth's surface. Hot serpents move fast to that space in summer. It was the heat of hell that led them in, and no one asked, where did they come from? Nubile beauties, naked and practiced, ecstatic encounters, keen and sure, bacchanalian participants, the young and the dead, a writhing mass on the moist earth near Kinross. And the wedding feast was beautiful. It was blissful and calm. Newlyweds so in love and in yearning, embrace true commitment as man and wife. Young teenagers' trance knowledge and memory of chaotic, erotic life forces simmering by the place of the witches, who sometimes, only sometimes, lie sleeping in Kinross. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the sexy nipples scraping along the ground. It's painful, actually. Anyway, I would like now to hand over to a really good friend and fantastic poet. She's a performance poet. She's becoming a right-on artist. She's a great photographer. If you get a chance to hear Donna reading your work, you should go. You'll not forget it. Please welcome Donna Campbell.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to us three in our homes, reading poetry that we have written. for International, well, we haven't written them for International Women's Day, but we're sharing our poems for International Women's Day. I'm going to start off a poem, and it's from the first Wanderlust Women book, and it's called Looking for Jessica, and it's about my grandmother that I never met. My father was taken away from her when he was 5 years old. His dad had been away fighting, and I think it was the Second World War, and Jessica had had an affair with an American soldier. My dad there was always that kind of a ghost kind of lingering round him all, like for the rest of his days, I think, and they would talk about her sometimes. But I think as well, when my father, it coloured his view on women. So my father had died, but my daughter had did a bit of detective work about Jessica, and her name was Jessica Maud Gutteridge, which is an absolutely beautiful name. And my daughter found that she'd married the American soldier, and she'd been over to live in West Virginia in America with him. So me and my daughter and my sister decided to go on a road trip in America, but to visit the place where Jessica was buried. I'm just going to read the poem now, and it's called Looking for Jessica. We found Jessica laid to rest in a family plot at the top of a field, tall with Johnson grass and blood-red poppies as high as the knee. In West Virginia, there are no burial grounds as such. People live with their dead, allot space in gardens lest they forget who is where. We had gone from house to house, felt the twitch of curtains as we knocked politely on doors. We must have looked odd in our frothy dresses and sandals with no toes. And it seemed our search was in vain till we came across a man and his boys covered in grease and muck, repairing a truck on the forecourt of their garage. My daughter, sis, and I followed the man up the field. Rough grass irritated our bare legs. Grit infiltrated strappy sandals. We made what the fuck faces as we tried to keep up, tickled pink on danger, the absurdity of it all, falling a stranger with a machete gripped in his hand, a handgun cushy in his jeans back pocket, the weight of metal pulling on cloth and irritation, but all the while alert to any movement of a venomous copperhead snake. Our grandmother's memory had gouged a rent in the fabric of family life. She was the musty monster chained under the bed, the flustered ghost chapping at the door of a 5-year-old's uncompromising dreams. She was my father's echo, reverberating throughout the years, the kicking and screaming as they took him away because she'd lain with an American soldier. We found her. We found Jessica in a small metal plaque of sun-washed grey. A flutter of angels with dirty faces embraced her name, and the pain of her father was laid to rest with a speckled pebble brought from his favourite fishing spot on the banks of Loch Lomond. We placed it quietly on Jessica's grave, and the man gifted us her plaque. So we had rocked up to, we couldn't find her grave, and we'd been chapping indoors, and then we rocked up. It's a hamlet, it's not even a village, and we were taken up to the top of this field, and the man had a machete and a gun, and we were like, what the fuck? Like, we'd all like summer dresses on that, and it was for snakes going through this long grass in the field. So yeah, but we found Jessica, which was lovely, and she died in 1976. So that's Looking for Jessica. The next poem I'm going to read is, where are we? Yeah, I've just decided that I'm going to read this, and like one time, I don't know, as a mother, sometimes I think as a mother, very rarely, but sometimes it's the thought of something perhaps happened to your children. Especially I remember like when they were younger and they would have an accident, but it could have been very, very serious. And you go to bed that night thinking of all the what ifs and not being able to sleep. Um, yeah. So I wrote this poem and it's called Eternity. And I was just thinking one night, what if something happened to my kids? So this is called Eternity. There's no way we're going to be dead all this time and not be by each other's side. I will look for you where puddles cease to be and transmute into ponds. In the gaze of my mother's face, gazing at a newborn child's face, in the taste of the sublime. I will listen for you in the rumble of thunder, a crack of lightning forking across the sky, in the echo of bangs birthing stars in sputtering cauldrons. For your voice in the song of the forest, alive with leaves and foliage swaying in the wind. I will wait for you in the place where hearts beat faster, where smiles greet strangers in streets in the dawn of a new day. There is just no way we are going to be dead all this time and not be by each other's side. It's unthinkable. So that's to my children. Yeah, that's to my children. So the last one that I'm going, so that was out of Extra Baggage, which was about love and horniness and things like that. Yeah. So all these books are brilliant. You've got to get them. Three women, three women, three women. The Wanderlust Women. So the last poem I'm going to read is from the latest book, She's Some Woman. And it's about a woman called Giselle Pillicott, who had been raped, well, drugged and raped by her husband, and I think it was about 50 men who would come to the house and take part in raping this unconscious woman, and her husband would be filming it. And the only reason this would happened over a period of 10 years, and the only reason that he got caught was he'd been caught in a supermarket upskirting a woman, and upskirting is taking photographs up a skirt of a woman that could be going up on an elevator or anywhere, going up steps, anything like that. So that's why he was caught. They took away all these electrical things, and they came across all these videos of his wife and other things. Giselle went to court and she waived her anonymity, and I didn't say that right because I have problems pronouncing words sometimes, and I'm not even going to try again. So this is called Without Her Knowledge. When they arrived at your door that day, a catastrophic bundle of evidence tucked under arms, tell me, what was it like to the light switched off in your world empty of colour? What gave you the strength to bare your face, the grace to walk loud and tall into a court congested with a circus, newly arrived in town, and watch your groom of 40 years ago, standing in the dock, not able to catch your eye as he awkwardly adjusted his tie, waiting for the judge to enter? And what was it like to the paparazzi comment on your choice of dress? The hint of a heel, eyes of steel behind the much discussed fashionable dark glasses. Giselle, didn't you know that women who are raped aren't meant to take pride in their appearance. They are meant to look comely and endearing. Right. And how did your daughter cope? Was she able to stay afloat when confronted with the sins of her father and the denial of men who said they committed no crime, that the woman unconscious in the bed was right up for it? Right up for it. I ask you, what the fuck does that even mean? Giselle, it is women like you that make women like me unafraid to stand up, shed the shame I have carried around for more years than I care to remember, and pull the plug on misogyny when it raises its ugly head and unravel historical threads of abuses embroidered into the annals of time. Thank you. That is for Giselle Pillicott. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the poems. And it is now my pleasure to introduce the next Wanderlust Woman. That is Lesley Benzie, a brilliant Scots poet. And yep, she's won awards and everything. So, Lesley, take it away.
Hello. So I'm going to do, I think, 3 poems, and the first one I'm going to do is from this book, if you can see it, the She's Some Woman book, which is our latest collaboration. I can't say words either. And the one I'm going to do is Maasai Woman Rising. I was fortunate enough to spend a bit of time in the Maasai Mara because my friend was an aid worker out in that region. And this woman isn't famous, but I read about her and I met a number of Maasai people when I was out there, and I was inspired to write this poem. She's a young woman, about 29, 30. So this is for Everleen Silolo. Everleen looks to the vast horizon, the arc of the rising sun gliding across the belly of the Masai Mara. Rose gold, ochre, burnt orange, burning ever hotter. She stifles yawns from diverting nighttime elephant herds, lion prides safely away from her manyatta, the wider boma and their cows. She pulls on stubborn udders as one aims her a kick. Sidestepping it, she feeds her 4 children its lifeblood, washes and clothes them for the schooling she insists on. Everleen has broken with many traditions. Centuries of female genital mutilations, serrated cries that went unheeded, while intellects bled out and lives were sentenced to hard labour, to childbearing, bearing the pain. But she holds to their land dearly, sustaining its ways. A diploma in tourism and wildlife management has made her a safari driver guide and a community leader on the Mara Ripoy Conservancy project, protecting thousands of its acres. She grazes her cattle there with other families, none of their cows ever taking more than they need. She knows the powerful forces that covet the Mara's resources will stop at nothing, selling their ancestors' souls, turning utopias into deserts in the name of utopias that will never exist. But they couldn't walk a moment in the skin of her barefoot miles. So she sits with groups of other Maasai women under the shade of gnarled Oloreroi trees, encouraging them to flourish and endure. So that was for Everleen. And sorry, I've got a wee tickle in my throat. So I'm going to do another one from this book, and it's this time it's inspired by a Scottish woman, or she was born in Scotland in Inverness, and she was an artist as well as very active in the suffragette movement. And I'm just going to babble. Oh, here I've found her. So this is for Marion Wallace Dunlop. And she was the first woman in the WASP, in the WSP to go on hunger strike. So this is called Fairies, Elves and Flower Babies. And that's part of the art that she created. Marion drew ethereal illustrations frae deep green fairy pools, inspiration fae her Scottish roots, perhaps courage fae her ancestor, William Wallace's mother. Her mind bore magical fruit, screeving, bairn storybooks, and creating banners, tapestries, prints for a woman's right to vote. She organised the arresting women's coronation procession. Her inscription for the Bill of Rights purpled onto the wa through the House of Commons earned her the hard arm of the law, a third prison term petitioning her status as political prisoner. Kenning weel that there are devils in diverse shapes, she never flinched fae spicking wi' probity or facing death, refusing mate as the first hunger-striking suffragette. Her formal protest was adopted by the rest of the WSPU. She was the inspiration for the freedom fighters Mahatma Gandhi and Michael Collins, though she isna a household name. She fought for justice and equality for a', and in the WSPU prisoner's scrapbook she quoted Goethe, her words echoing still. Choose well, your choice is brief and yet endless. And I'm going to finish with a poem from this book. This was the very first collaboration that we did. And Linda mentioned Joni Mitchell as an inspiration at the beginning. And this is, I suppose, related somewhat to Joni Mitchell and me growing up in Aberdeen. So it's called Woodstock to Aberdeen. She was just 10-year-old, and Joni stilled her uneasy heart, singing, "We are stardust, we are golden." At that age, when you begin to question ahin, and are I trying to work out fa you are. Her granny tutted and her ma was black affronted when the TV showed bare-breasted quines, lang hair and slender limbs, their wild flowers and the bonny brecht orbs o' their doups ahin. Wee glimpses as they cavorted in the skinkling water o' Fox River, wi' the loons fa after a whilie barely batted their een doon on Yasker's ferm. Quines free to have the fun that loons I teen for granted, throwing off the yoke o' I having to carry the wecht of the world's morality. A world awa, fae never been able to louse the styes o' your imperfections in her father's hoose, for dyed hair and make-up made ye nothing short o' a whore. So that was my wee poem inspired by Joni Mitchell. Thank you very much for listening.
Thanks very much for doing that. Thanks very much for doing that poem. I loved it, and I just loved hearing. I mean, obviously, we've heard each other reading these poems over the piece, going to different things and different places to read. It's great because you kind of know them now and kind of enter the fray with the person that's reading. I love it. So I hope you've enjoyed hearing Donna Campbell, Lesley Benzie, and myself, and we're just making our plans just now about who we're going to be floating about. And I think we'll be in Versailles in April, and we're going to be up in the new Speaking Weird venue in March. So we'll be putting up things about that on our Facebook and Instagram. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you've enjoyed it, and testaments for any women that you know, and men, you're invited to write them as well. Bye for everybody. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.